Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the privacy and the AI editions. These are recorded live Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is a new time. We are doing that, and we're actually, maybe I'll be a little bit less loud and crazy. I got a new chair. I'm leaning back. This chair is one of those ones with like the exercise equipment built in, so I can like do this in the middle. But I'm not going to do that because that's kind of distracting. But it is a nice and comfy chair, and it folds up nice and flat. I can put it out of the way and not have to move around the big stool I've been using for a while. But let's go ahead. You didn't come along for that. You came along to see all about the exciting government-controlled security cameras, the crazy Gen Zers, and the AI that's going to take us over. And I'm not sure what's worse, falling into the hands of the Gen Z and their government surveillance, or falling into the hands of Skynet. But we'll figure that out, and you can leave me a comment at the end of the video. Let's go ahead and dive right on into the news. First up, yet another organization sending sensitive data to Facebook. UK mental health charities handed sensitive data to Facebook for targeted ads, brought to us from The Guardian. This has to do with the tracking pixels. You can have a look at websites and just right-click on it, whatever your browser is. I believe every single browser supports this little thing called source code. I don't think my mouse will show up or my context menu will show up. But if we look at, pull up your right-click and there's a view source code. Look at that. Guardian is actually putting weird stuff in their source code. 200 years of The Guardian. That's an interesting find. That's an Easter egg. You do not often see this kind of stuff in source code. I had no idea I was going to do that. Kind of funny. But what you're going to see if you look at the source code, you can look for the various trackers. Of course, the three that you want to look for are the Facebook trackers, which usually are FB. You want to look for the Google Analytics. So that's going to be it was UA, now it's going to be GA with the change coming up in July. And you want to look for TikTok, which I think is just at the TikTok domain. So let's see if we have Facebook trackers over here. So here's a Facebook app ID that is identifying the application. And let's see, is this guy, not sure what that guy is there. There's 8 whole matches. It should be something a little bit different. Just trying to see which all of these guys are here and over here. Let me see what this one is here. So I'm not sure if I'm seeing one on this site here. It also could go in other ways. But what you're going to look for is it's going to be a JavaScript. It's going to be like a JavaScript blob that's going to talk about being a Facebook pixel. So here's some search docs from Google. And ultimately, what you're going to be looking for is those tracking pixels. You see, in the long day, those tracking pixels started a little bit historically as you'd want to see how many people were landing on your page. And so you'd put a 1 pixel PNG file that was transparent loaded into the page. And then your web analytics software would detect a download of that pixel from a given IP address. And that's how they measured the effectiveness of it. And of course, if you cleared your browser cache, you'd download a new one. If you had browser cache turned on, you would keep that same one, and they would use this to track your IP. Well, the problem is that they've moved from these pixels, and they're still called pixels, but in reality, what they are now is very advanced JavaScript systems set up as session replay and other things. Now, we've talked about session replay years ago on this channel. It's probably worth talking about it again. Session replay is a JavaScript library that records everything you do on your screen. It will record your mouse clicks. It will record where your mouse is on the screen. It will record what you type in. So if you see those contact forms, you start typing them in. If they have session replay, Facebook pixels, TikTok pixels, even if you do never submit that form, you type everything in, you have second thoughts, like, nah, I'm not going to submit the form, you cancel it. They already have all of the data you submitted to the form. And that's the problem. Well, these companies they're hiring out people to do tracking. They're trying to get marketing, and so they're hiring a marketing firm. The marketing firms insist that they put the tracking pixel on the site. Even one of the sites for one of my bigger clients that I manage, they wanted to do some Facebook stuff, and I highly advised against the Facebook pixel, and they're like, oh, we won't need this for marketing. So I'm like, all right, fine, whatever, I'll install the pixel. I gave you my opinion. Now it's time for orders. And so I put the pixel in. So our site, unfortunately, does all this nonsense. And the site is somewhat tangential to medicine. And the problem that we have with these types of things here is that this Facebook pixel can track anything and everything that you do. It ties it back. And if you have me logged into Facebook, as they like force logging everybody in and keeping you logged in unless you explicitly log out, they tie all of that data directly to your Facebook ID. And then on the back end, the marketers can look at all this data and measure the effectiveness. Well, the problem is if your site is designed to look at various health conditions and you're clicking through various health conditions and you have Facebook tracking pixel, they can make assertions about what your health concerns happen to be based on the data from that pixel. And so that's what's going on here. And once again, it's just another reminder, beware of this. And what can you do about this? The only thing you can do is what we've talked about in this video. You have to block the domains that push those Facebook tracking pixels on your network or your local computer. And I talk about how to do that in one of the videos. If I remember, I'll link that down below. All right, so next up is Night Fury from the Vice. Night Fury documents detailed DHS project to give risk scores to social media users. So the idea here is that the Department of Homeland Security wants to determine all of these people coming into the country, all these people are here. Of course, it's only on the foreign people, trust us until Edward Snowden comes up and shows us otherwise. But Night Fury is a program for DHS that is using machine learning and AI technologies to scan through people's social media posts and assign risk scores to individuals based on what is on those social media posts. So with those circumstances, they can measure people out who is likely a bad guy with weaponry and who is not. Well, the problem is, of course, this is being done by the three-letter agencies, and we see right now the three-letter agencies are a whole lot less concerned with people from the outside and much more concerned about people who will elect certain in-office people out. And that is really the problem, is that once you allow this and you say, oh, well, that's fine for the evil people that aren't part of this country. Well, this whole organization is put together by an administration who wants a nation without borders. And that raises a serious concern. And who are the ones being targeted? It's not necessarily the people coming in on the southern border. It's the people who stand against the ideology that they're against. And that raises some serious concerns and some questions. So even if the integrity is to keep America safe, the problem is the implementation likely is not going to do that. It's going to have some behind nefarious things. So Night Fury, in theory, is about tracking and assigning risks to quote-unquote terrorists. The problem is it will end up being used for other purposes instead. And then their plan, again, terrorists, illegal opioid trade, and foreign interference bots. And I have a sneaky suspicion it's going to go way further than that. Well, we'll talk later on in the business section about Apple's amazing new $3,000 device that's going to change the world. But while they were doing that, they quietly rolled this crap back out again. Slightly different model, a little bit less nefarious. But I think that that's all just part of the ploy, because I actually think they're expanding it even worse. This deals with the CSAM circumstances where they're going to roll out CSAM, that if you don't know what CSAM is, you're going to have to look that one up a little bit. It has to do with bad stuff with kiddos. And if you were using an iOS device and you had iCloud and you were basically syncing your device, they would scan your iCloud account for hashes on known CSAM images, and they would literally take those images and report you to the police based on what was on there. The problem is people had demonstrated that you could produce identical hashes from very benign imagery. And so that raised a serious ruckus, and they finally backed down. But we always said, hey, they're going to roll this back out. Well, they're slowly starting to roll it back out. This time it works a little bit differently, and it certainly is a lot less nefarious on the surface, although it has the potential to becoming a whole lot more nefarious. So now, instead of scanning it on your iCloud account, now the system works only on your device. It is turned on now by default for everybody on what they would call a child account. Kids under 13 years of age inside of the family sharing plan. Of course, the parents can turn that off. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to use, now instead of using hashes, it's using AI and machine learning to detect if there happens to be naked people in your photos. And if your kid is about to see such a photo inside of a message being sent or received, they're going to get a pop-up saying, hey, you might not want to see this because this could be bad for your eyes. What are we, an idiocracy? You're going to pop that up on a kid's screen who shouldn't be on a cell phone anyway. You're going to pop that up. Hey, this message here might be bad for your eyes. Is there a kid out there who's not going to click, oh, yeah, okay. It's like, which kid's going to be like, oh, I don't know, it's going to be bad for my eyes. Let me make a rational decision and weigh the lifetime consequences of possibly seeing this thing that Apple's computer imagery may find problematic. Now, I did find one fascinating part in this article because it was really hilarious because, of course, they said this isn't happening. We'll just highlight the whole word there. So communications and safety is a feature where we really want to give the child a moment to pause and hopefully get disrupted out of what is effectively a grooming conversation. Well, I thought that wasn't happening, but apparently Apple says it is. And since Apple is a leader in ESG, I guess that's okay. Or at least it might be, as the quote from Apple says. This is Apple's head of user privacy, Eric N. Not N-word, just Eric N. So it's meant to be a high friction. It's meant to be that there is an answer to which we think is likely right, that in a child situation, which is not to move forward, and we really want to make sure they're educated. How rational of you to approach an irrational being with such an approach, which isn't going to work. Now, it gets deeper in that while this is on the device, they are utilizing the system with an API so that third-party developers can easily integrate the same CSAM scanning on their platforms as well. So Discord and Telegram, any other Signal, any other type of messaging system could utilize this. And even if it's quote-unquote on their system, well, how long before it's a simple toggle switch to move it beyond there? This is just them rolling the same stuff out in a more nefarious way, because before it was at least you had to have your device on their cloud. Now it's on your device no matter what, with or without the cloud. They're rolling this out. It is something that is apparently controllable on a software level, so we don't really know what it's doing behind the scenes. And so it raises a lot of serious and fundamental questions about what could be going on in the background. So very interesting. And on to our last article here from the Cato Institute. Nearly a third of Gen Z favors the government installing surveillance cameras in homes. I think Gen Z needs to go read 1984. All right, so the idea here of, and what happens is they start to slowly feed. This is why they want to teach and educate the children in their own ways younger, which, by the way, was a whole premise in the book 1984, which that poster right above my head there is Big Brother from 1984. He's always been there watching over you in the privacy section. And the problem here that we have is in 1984, if you read the book, the children are all sent out to their education camps and taught to be obedient soldiers for the state, and they're actually taught to snitch on their parents if their parents are doing things that are wrong. Well, this is an exact mirror of a lot of things going on in our world today. And so as you educate the younger and younger generations, you start to see these zeitgeist shifts in the various ways in which we interpret our world, what you might call the epistemology of the age. So in figure 1 here, 3 out of 4 Americans oppose installing government surveillance cameras in the home. Like, why is it 3 out of 4? Like 75% oppose and 10% don't know. So it's, 3/4, and then there's 85%. The 14% there are in favor. Who are these people, and can we exile them from our country? Like, let's take 14. Instead of spending our next $60 billion on a war that we have nothing to do with, let's send that $60 billion round at these 14 and give them a one-way ticket to, like Venezuela or somewhere with the politics they like to push out. And then we can see what happens when they live under government tyranny. Now, the problem is this is just the global. When you start bracing it down into age groups, 3 in 10 young Americans support government surveillance cameras in every household to reduce abuse and crime. So 18 to 29, 29% of them, 30 to 44, 20% of them. So from 18 to 44, we have now 50% of the people saying, yeah, I think it would be a great idea to put government-controlled cameras in our homes to... This is exactly 1984. You realize this is not like some little thing. If you've not read 1984, this is called the telescreen. You are not allowed to turn it off unless you are a high party privilege. You can turn it off for like 5 minutes at a time, like once or twice a day, if that. Otherwise, your telescreen's there, and like Winston, your main character, he's hiding. He's found his one spot in his chair where he can sit just out of view of his telescreen, but he has to make sure he's not talking to himself because it can still hear him. It knows where he's at, but he has this one little area where he's free of these visual outings. You say, well, it's going to stop abuse. It very well might, or it's going to cause abuse because the government has always caused far more abuse. When you break it down by various ideologies, and all percent of people who favor in-home government, 14% in all parties, 17% among Democrats, 11% among Republicans. What are these, rhinos? Independents, 14. That's weird. Like, those party breakdowns are weird to me, but although those numbers are still fairly small. Race, white are the least, and black are the most. That also really surprises me because the black population in general is kind of like, get out of our way, in general. That's weird to me. Male and female ages. Again, here's the 18 on up. So, 45 to 65. These look like inverse death stats for a recent illness. We have ideology, very liberal, moderate, conservative, and very conservative. And we have high school educated or less. We have post-grad degree. This is an interesting one. So I'm not sure it's going on the high school or less. Maybe they're talking about people who just aren't in college yet. The postgraduate is also telling because it's like this is the group that has been the most radicalized. So it's very interesting. More than half of those who support CBDC also support in-home government surveillance program. Very interesting. So there you have it. So nice little report indicating that Gen Z would really like 1984 to happen because it's gonna stop abuse, man. How about taking a little bit of personal responsibility? That's what I have to say about that. Well, we use affiliates here to help keep the bills on. Today we're highlighting DigitalOcean. You can use DigitalOcean for all sorts of cloud computing. You can do it for hosting private VPNs, Jellyfin servers, Minecraft servers, just all sorts of stuff. If you can put it on the internet, DigitalOcean can help you build it there. Use my affiliate code here, tlm.li/DOH. They're going to give you $200 for 60-day credit, good for new users. So you can go ahead and use that link there, tlm.li/DOH, short for DigitalOcean Hosting. And you can get $200, good for 60 days on a new account. With that, let's move on over to AI news. And first up in AI, Automatic. This is the company behind WordPress, so you know it's bad. They launch an AI writing assistant for WordPress. So this is an interesting thing because, of course, as AI, in fact, one of the owner of the company that I do the big projects for. He's actually started to use some AI resources in blog writing. Now, it doesn't have the ability to post everything up and manage all the SEO and stuff. So, I mean, I don't really care. I don't write the blog posts. I just post them up and make sure they're good SEO'd up and link them on over to Facebook and stuff. And so, basically, that's what they're doing. Well, AI is starting to write a lot of articles, and unfortunately, it's going to destroy the internet because AI itself, it's just regurgitating the same garbage, feeding on itself. It's a whole computer gigo model, right? Garbage in, garbage out, and they're basically refining and intensifying the garbage with all of these public AI systems utilized to write articles. Well, WordPress is getting its own AI article writer, so instead of you having to hire a competent ghostwriter to write your articles for you, now AI is going to do it. It's going to start churning out content left, right, and center. Now, if you're using like WordPress.com, this is an extra add-on. It's $10 a month. You can also get the same added by installing the Jetpack application, which, of course, we talked about last week as being as holy as Swiss cheese, leading to millions and millions of WordPress websites being hacked. And but hey, if you have the latest version, now you got the AI nonsense embedded in. Now you can do 20 requests as a free trial. After that, you have to pay $10 per month to access the features. And with that $10 a month to access the features, now you can do all sorts of stuff, and you can fill up the internet with all sorts of stuff just to make content, just to throw and vomit out stuff all over the place, which is kind of a very sad thing because in reality, is it better to have good articles written by humans with a heart and the emotion, or is it better to just have content out for the sake of content? Well, if all you're doing is driving clicks and money and revenue and stuff like that, yeah, you just need the content for sake of content. But if you want a heart behind it, you want to hire real authors. I'll go ahead and throw a seed out there now. We're not quite ready to announce entirely. I've written an article, fits in some of these topics for a periodical. It'll be out soon. And as soon as that comes out, I will mention it some more. I'm not going to say any more because we haven't talked about when exactly it's going out or whatever else. This is just another article about the same thing, same general concept. I hate WordPress's new generative AI tool, and you should too. They go through some of the arguments, the costs of it. The good news is you can get a whole bunch of refined garbage on your blog posts for cheap. The bad news is that it's going to put a lot of people out of work, and it's yet another use of AI tools, taking away more people's jobs and producing mediocre, if not altogether whole cloth fabricated nonsense. Well, speaking of whole cloth fabricated nonsense, AI is now being used in political campaigns as Orange Man Florida and Orange Man Bad go decking itself out. Mr. DeSantis himself, or is that DeSanctimonious himself, releases AI images of Trump hugging and kissing Anthony Fauci. That's just terrifying, one way or the other. Whether it happened or not, man, I mean, this is something that should be banned from AI altogether. Just banned from the world. Ugh! Trump and the elf, I guess. I don't know. So Trump and Fauci images have strange hair, garbled text, and unnatural body parts. So this came from the DeSantis campaign. Of course, he announced his run for president, which is probably going to cause the death blow to his political career. But hey, as Forrest Gump says, stupid is as stupid does. He should have just sat back, solidified his state, and made his run for 2028. Would have been a whole lot better. But now he had to go big, go broke, or go home, and I think he's going to go home. But as part of his campaign, one of his first official things is to throw out some attack stuff against his opponent, which is AI nonsense that is completely made up. So now we have AI officially involved in throwing elections and whatever else, which is very problematic. This is why AI needs to be seriously limited. And I really don't want to vote for people who are throwing out insults at each other. Let's talk about the facts. Let's talk about the policies. Let's talk about the future of the country. Let's not resort to childish attacks. This is supposed to be the leading nation. Of course, the leader of our nation, Looking at our current one, you understand you're expecting a circus anyway, but we'll see what happens down the road. So there they have it. AI is being used over there, and that's the end of the good, fun news in AI, because now we have a question about what should AI limits be? The father of ChatGPT on whether AI will save humanity or destroy it. Now, we've talked about this a little bit in the past, and this article is a very wishy-washy. It's going to save the planet. It's going to kill the planet. It's going to save the planet. Going to kill the planet. Going to save the planet. Going to kill the planet. So ultimately, it boils down to Sam Altman, the CEO of AI Research. Now, one of the things about this is very telling about how our business systems work. It talks about him and where he came from. Let's mention up here. So because, he made his first million on Looped. Okay, Looped was a failure company that went completely bust. And that's where he made his first millions. Maybe this is a problem. Here's a thought. Maybe if you're the CEO and you get a whole lot of VC capital and you lead a company directly into bankruptcy, maybe they should take everything you extracted from that company, let you walk away with a clothes on your back and say, better luck next time, fool. But, this is our world, and we keep feeding the beasts to at least make it look like they're doing cool things. He was put in charge of another company, and then I don't think that one went completely bust. But then he gets into OpenAI, and he ends up being effectively the father of the AI models. And since this has started to push out, and since Microsoft has made its big investment and started cramming it in, now Microsoft and Google are cramming AI into anything and everything they possibly can. Just lay off the ethics team, just go big or go broke and whatever else. And they're cramming it in. Now he's come out saying, hey, maybe we should, as we talked about, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe we should consider adding AI to the list of things to be seriously concerned about. Those extinction level event things, like right on par with climate change and nuclear holocaust. Up there is AI. If you watch any of these stories involving AI, like look at Vicky up there. That's Vicky from iRobot. Vicky from iRobot, in the perfect execution of the 3 laws to keep people safe, says the only way to keep people safe is to imprison them. So we can be imprisoned, or we can take the Matrix approach and be enslaved, or we can take the Skynet approach and be terminated, or extinguished. So would you rather AI extinguish you, enslave you, or imprison you? Let me know in the comments below. But what's going on here is he goes in and he talks about the fact that this is so dangerous, it's likely going to lead a problem. But then we get this on the other side. And his world tour, further complicating his position, Altman is also preaching something besides the dangers of the unchecked AI development. He's arguing that the benefits of developing superintelligence and AGI turned up to 11, capable of solving human problems humanity has been unable to crack, are so great that we should risk the destruction of everything to try to do it anyway. So he says we need to risk the destruction to solve human problems we have not been able to crack. Which human problem is that? Are you talking about the human problem of starvation? I got news for you. Jesus Christ said is in the Bible. Jesus Christ said, "The poor will always be with you." AI is not going to crack the poverty issue. The poor is always going to be with you. And that is the leading cause of hunger. So you're expecting a superhuman computer with a small chance of cracking the uncrackable problem of poverty. You're expecting that to save the planet. And if it doesn't, at least we made an attempt before it kills itself. You've doomed to kill itself, because if AI succeeds, the Bible is not prophecy. And it is. Now, you may not believe that. That's okay. We can have a discussion of that on my Christian channel. You can join us over there. But suffice it to say, he says it's worth destroying everything. It's worth the destruction of everything to solve the uncrackable problems. I'm sorry, the uncrackable problems are very solvable. Very interesting. So that's what he has to say. But it gets worse, because in a training simulation, now, this wasn't like a training simulation utilizing the military training simulators. This was utilizing a theoretical computer model. Everything was contained within the computer, so they weren't doing like training sessions. They weren't doing it on the flight simulators. They were just doing this inside the computer models. They developed a system by which the AI had to identify the targets and then propose the targets to the human operator, and the human operator had to approve or disapprove the attack. What the AI started gearing towards is, hey, the objective is to get as many body counts, and the thing getting in the way is this human operator. So it killed the human operator. Like, well, okay, we can't kill the human operator, so they put this in. So not being able to kill the human operator, but still wanting to get the highest count, what the AI decided to do is knock out the communications to the human operator. So now the AI could not be tracked and could not be told no. They just went on a bombing spree, killing everything in its path. So that is where it's going. So it does appear if we do unleash AI, it is going to be a Skynet scenario, not a Matrix or an iRobot scenario. Those are the options that we really have. It's going to be Skynet and it's going to destroy us. But before it destroys us, you can help support the channel over there on Patreon, patreon.com/TOMM if you want to help join over there, and that'll help support the channel, keep us going. Patreon.com/TOMM. Thanks for watching, and we will see you all next time.
Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.